So that's application preparation and recruiting and networking. Okay. Resume, get a killer resume. It still matters. Look at what really matters in the resume and how to be concise and actually speak English in it. Right. Cover letter, mass produce it as a table stakes item. Save a lot of time on that. Just get your paragraphs ready. Right. Application tracking. Don't lose track of deadlines, offices, all of that. Okay. Networking, one of the most important short-term things you can do to get a interview. One of my favorite things is networking outside of school and relating to people that have a similar background to you. Okay. Hint at a referral and play tag. All right. Interview prep. Remember, prep before you apply. Prep before you apply. Okay. And as I talk about interview prep, I actually want to address Tinotenda's point. So Tinotenda said, they drilled me on questions I hadn't prepared for. Well, of course. Of course. What do you mean? Questions yet? How many questions are out there that they can ask? Literally infinity. They can ask you anything they want. Explain nuclear energy to my 7-year-old daughter. What courses are you taking and why? Right? What do you think of the NATO rearmament in the face of Ukraine, of Russia? Right? They can ask you anything. And of course they'll ask what else. So, when you go into a date, when you go into a conversation with someone at school, do you drill and prepare yourself for every question that person could ask? Of course not. Do you still manage to have a normal human conversation? Of course. Why am I pointing this out? For all of your interview prep, please don't go, I need to study and memorize everything and read all 900 pages of my biology textbook to be ready for the biology test. This is not an exam. So it's not an examination. It's a simulation. As consultants, we come in and we have to dynamically respond to anything that comes our way. Do not have a list of questions you prepare for. Be prepared for anything. Practice being surprised by a question and build the muscle of hearing something you don't understand and figuring it out. Hearing something you don't know or haven't prepped for and figuring out. That's your prep. Not learning every single possible case type. It's impossible. I don't know every case type. I've been doing this for 6-7 years. Okay. So, let's start with building your base. My recommendation. So Nishi is asking tips on getting through each stage of interviews. Everything I'm saying next is going to be tips on that. And then my strong recommendation is Leland Plus to keep building that up and coaching. Because just like you need a personal trainer at the gym to do the right exercises in the right way, not injure yourself, be effective with your hours at the gym to actually get fit properly. Same thing here. Try to get a coach if you can. And use Leland Plus and use your peers. Okay. Number 1, daily math. 20 to 30 minutes a day of daily math. You do that until you're comfortable with math within cases. As in, you're not becoming amazing at math. We don't need math stars. What we need is someone who doesn't get tripped up by it. You want your brain power in a case to be focused on everything else. Do math until you're comfortable with it. Period. My favorite is the rote practice with mathdrills.com. You need to make sure you can do 7 times 3, 13 times 31, whatever it may be. And Rocket Blocks is amazing for charts, exhibits, and math. Horrible for frameworking. Don't use Rocket Blocks for framework. But these 2 resources here I love for the math stuff. This is rote math practice. This is contextual math practice. Okay? 20, 30 minutes a day until you're comfortable with it. Okay, until you can work through a case without it stressing you out. Daily reading, background knowledge. I've been doing this for 15 years. You need to do it starting today, starting yesterday, and for the rest of your life. Why? Because you'll become knowledgeable. All of this is going to get absorbed and internalized. This is not you studying to learn everything about the world. It's you starting to understand what's going on and start to pick up on some of the main themes. The more consistently you do this, the better. Again, it's like going to the gym every other day. Consistency is key. Okay. These are some of the ones I recommend. Probably if I had to choose, it would be BCG Insights, and maybe The Economist. Okay. You're going to get better at charts and exhibits, understanding real world issues. Foundational prep. Um, Again, I believe this is on Leland Plus. I have the template here for you. I also have 20 industry deep dives, but this is really important. You're not here to go and learn 20 industries because guess what? There's 1,000. What you're doing is you're researching a couple of industries to then just start to understand how industries work, how business works. So what I recommend you do, which is what I did for my prep, I got a team of people, 3 of my peers, and what we did is we created a outline of an industry deep dive. Competitive major players, what it actually is, how they make money, the revenue streams, the cost streams, key trends, etc. From that template, we then each researched a company or an industry, came back and presented it to each other. Okay. In this way, we started to get a deeper understanding, not just of that industry, but of all industries, right? If I learn how manufacturing works, I can start to have parallels to that if I get asked a question about mass production of warfare drones, right? Or if I get asked a question about the automation of vehicle production, right? I don't have to study that industry to start to be able to see parallels from other industries and to start to just know what to ask to better understand the industry, to visualize it. Okay. So I recommend you do one of these a week, and you only have to do 4, 5, 6. Pick an industry you're not comfortable with, learn it, build it out through the template. Don't go read about industries. You're not here to memorize stuff. You're here to learn how to think. Okay. So use this as an exercise to, yes, learn an industry, but also learn how they work, learn get more comfortable with the unknown. Okay. Then there's some foundational prep around the key case types. This is super important. This list is only half of what you'll get in your interviews. 50% of interviews nowadays are unconventional, which means they could be anything. Okay. But half of your cases are still going to be these. Okay. With that in mind, you should be familiar with what each one really means and the dynamics of them. But please don't memorize them in a vacuum. Okay. Don't go and read Victor Chang or Case in Point and go, profitability is revenue cost. It's not. Profitability could lead into a growth, could lead into a market entry. M&A could come from a growth prompt or come from a market entry. We could start a case with information that basically implies a previous team came in, was looking at a growth target and decided that in order to grow, we should enter a market. Then the case is us figuring out how to enter the market, and it concludes with us deciding we have to buy a company and we have to figure out how. Right? These are not in a vacuum because the world of business is not a vacuum. Understand that these interconnect. This is what I call the world of frameworks. So I have a video of 50 minutes, I think it's on Leland Plus, where I talk through the interaction of all of these. Okay. How do we think about a profitability? How do we think about a growth? How do they interconnect? Okay. So make sure you understand that these all interconnect. Let me answer some questions. I love all these questions, guys. Keep them up. Or keep it up. Prosper asked, so you mean with my master in project management, I don't need an MBA and an M7 to get into consulting MBB? I need to see your whole resume holistically. Anything you do that adds to your resume increases your chances. Does a MBA increase your chances? Yes. Do you have to have an MBA to get MBB or consulting? No. Even less so consulting. To get consulting, you can be a lot of things. To get MBB, the bar is higher. Your odds might be X% without an MBA. They might double with an MBA. It depends. I don't know what your GPA is. Did you graduate magna cum laude? What was your undergraduate degree and MBA and grade? What schools? What other work experience? Just remember, Prosper, and everyone else. There's a bunch of variables in your resume that go into it. Your odds are going to be X%. Whatever your odds are, you're maximizing those odds by having an awesome resume, by applying to a ton of companies, and by networking, right? Go and do it. You'll find out. And guess what? The year is 2025. Those inherent base odds might be different to 2024, 2023, 2026, what office you apply to. I know that sounds overwhelming, but don't try and predict these things out. I can't give you a percent. No one can. There's so many variables. Just go and do it. Go and do it and find out. Apply to 40 firms, network a ton, get the best resume, cover letter, get case ready, and apply. And then you'll find out. If you don't get it, then go do an MBA or apply next year. It's not, it's not if you guys know game theory, it's not a one-time event, right? This can occur every year. Every year you have another shot. So odds will be higher with an MBA and an M7. Is it required? No. Right. I love the question. And that applies to everyone here. You could be a Harvard graduate, 4.0 GPA, solving cancer, and you might not get an interview at McKinsey, right? It's just how it is. Hannah asked if you should connect with others in that office playing tag to try to get a referral if that first person doesn't offer one. Yes, but just be careful. Same office, same company. Try not to spam like 50 people. You can try to message 3, 4, 5 within a given office. But remember, a referral isn't just for an office. You can network with the whole US or Canada, Europe if you're applying to San Diego. Okay, so yeah, office is great, but you don't have to do just that office. Okay. Hannah, referrals are they can 2x your odds. Referrals are super, super important. So my view is you hustle until you get a referral. If you've done everything you think you can to get a referral and you didn't, still apply. But you're doing everything in your power to get a referral because it really does drastically increase your odds. Okay. If you've had 10 calls with people from that company, no referral, I'd go ahead and apply. So you really do want a referral, but you can get an interview without. It's just that it really increases your odds. Nirja is asking to paste the links in the chat. Yep, they've been pasted a few times. Leland Plus. During interviews, are you expected to know basic math or more advanced? Nishi, you are expected to know the math. Oh, cool. They plug Leland Plus. Nishi, you're expected to know the math that is in cases. Okay. What you see in cases, you need to be able to do. And you need to be able to do without it taking brain power and without it stressing you out, because you've got to do your case leadership. You've got to do, interact with the interviewer. You've got to be processing things. You've got to be doing your frameworking. So the math should be something that is easy for you. Okay. You need to do the level of math that you will see in cases. That's simple. Asmita, I normally recommend getting a referral first. If there's a deadline for November 15th, right, for your school, double check that it's not rolling. Most of them are not rolling applications. But if it's November 15th, I'm networking until the 12th or the 13th and seeing if I can get a referral. Okay. Don't miss deadlines, but most of them aren't rolling, although double check with your school. My pleasure. Okay. How do we do case prep? This is a really big topic. But look, basically, guys, please remember this. A case simulates a real life project. So you're at a client site, right? Your actual interviewer has taken a project of theirs and turned it into a case. So please make sure you're not doing BS, company, competition, market, revenue, cost. Speak like a real consultant here, right? If you can't set up a project team according to your structure, it's not a good framework, okay? Cases are projects, frameworks are project plans. Here's some advice. The main thing I would say is practice with others and learn from others. So live cases with a bunch of peers. Give them the cases that you struggled in. And when you're casing them, you're going to learn as well. If you did case A, someone gave you case A, and then later on, you're like, ooh, I want to learn more about case A, case someone with that, okay? Stay organized, just like always. It's good to have a tracker, okay? Really quick, one second. Sorry, guys. Let me just reshare. Just in case we run out of time, I want to show this. Okay. I'm going to come back to some of the slides, but for anyone who has to hop off early, basically we've got coaching. If you guys are getting the Casey chatbot or McKinsey and Bellis, feel free to shoot me a message. I've got a whole bunch of practice materials on that. You can grab the Casey chatbot stuff there. And then feel free to reach out for coaching if you're interested. And then again, Leland Plus has a bunch of, it has 10 times what I've been showing today, 100 times what I've been showing today, dives a lot deeper into a lot of these topics. Okay. I'm going to come back to a slide or two to try to get some mindset shifts for you guys, but let me just check these questions. Okay. Nirja asked, what is the general hiring cycle? More summer hires, more spring, more intermediate. Network and you'll find out. Talk to your university, you'll find out. Everything changes all the time. Your networking, your research is going to show you those cycles and deadlines and all that for where you are in the world and your journey. Okay. But yeah, to Cade's answer, yes, if you're in school, there's a clear program, right? There's clear dates and everything. If you're out of school and working, then it's an experienced hire. And as Cade says, it's rolling, right? So it'll depend on their demand. Okay. One quick thing I want to ask you guys. Okay. Here's a typical framework. I'm going to get a little bit more engagement again. From a scale of 1 to 10, what do you guys think about this framework? So you've probably seen a prompt like this if you've been case prepping, right? We've been brought in to figure out if we should enter this market. We want you to help us assess that. We've got market, company, financials. All right, 1 to 10. What do you guys think about this framework? 1 to 10. What have we got? Okay, Azamita says 6, lacks context, and you just says 8, David 5. Yep. 6, 7. Cool. Love it. I mean, we see a lot of these, right? We see a lot of these online. We see these in case books, right? You guys know me by now. It's somewhat of a trick question. If you just say this, it doesn't mean anything. So what we really need to say is, first, we need to figure out if this market is attractive, or we need to determine or ensure that the market is attractive. Then if the market is an attractive market, we need to make sure that it is attractive for us, ensure the market is attractive to us. Then finally, if the market is attractive for us, i.e. we will perform well here, then we need to make sure we can execute and pull it off. And if so, how? Okay. I want to look at size, growth, margins, competition, right? How many times do we hear that? That doesn't mean anything. In order to determine that this market is attractive, I need to make sure that's a large growing market with good margins that we expect to continue and with weak or non-existent competition. To figure out if we will perform well in this market, I want to look at our strengths and see if our product is better than the competition's product in the areas that our customers care about. Don't just say words. Okay. One other thing. So this is awesome. We have a framework now, right? Now you guys know what a market entry framework is. Cool. We're done with market entry, right? Not quite. What if your case prompt is, the market is booming? Should we enter? Well, then we can't have that first bucket. The client has already told us they know the market's good. We have to figure out if it's good for us. What if the prompt says we're looking at 3 markets, China, India, and Indonesia? Well, now we have to choose between the 3. Our framework changes, right? What if our client has said, we've assessed this market, we know it's good, we're trying to figure out how we should enter, not if we should enter, but how? Well, now you need a new framework, a completely new one to find the target customer, make the target customer aware, and get the product to the customer. These are all market entry. If you see a website or a resource that says, these are the 5 frameworks for your case interviews, skip it. They're wrong. It's snake oil salesman. The only thing you should be doing is learning how to think about cases, how to think like a consultant, and create dynamic, tailored, objective-driven frameworks. Okay? Because this is a market entry, this is a market entry, this is a market entry, this is a market entry. So anyone who says, I have the framework for market entry is lying or doesn't know what they're talking about. I track real interview questions around the world. I know what they ask. And guess what? What do they ask? Anything. Anything. Medical diagnostic company, staff at hospital is at capacity. How do we convince the staff to use a machine? Is that profitability? Is that growth? Is that market entry? Is that pricing? It's none of it. What about we need to evaluate pilot options for delivery drone company, last mile delivery drone. We need to choose between suburb and city. Which one is it? None. This one's my favorite. I can say this now. I couldn't say it back then. This was asked by McKinsey around the world one year. I mean, like it was in so many of their interviews. Major international bank across 7 geographies setting up an employee training program. They're hiring more tellers, want to train existing ones. How do we build a teller training program, right? Your case prompts can be anything. So learn how to think like a consultant. This is just like the networking call. This is just like your behavioral. Learn how to answer anything. Don't go and create a script or a prompt, right? Asmita, you do say your buckets out loud, but you don't say company market because that's generic. But you do signpost your buckets when you create your framework. So yes, you're right there. Okay. Here's some approaches on how you framework. I've developed these different approaches: the top-down, build-up, why, project plan, non-business prompts, unconventional. These are all, most of them should be on Leland Plus. They also come with my coaching. But there are many ways that you can learn how to framework effectively. Just make sure you're not going and just memorizing 5 framework types like company, competition, market, or product, or whatever. Okay. Feel free to type some questions. Just to summarize: resume, cover letter, application tracking, have a killer resume, make sure that the bullet points make sense, cover letter, mass produce it. Recruiting and networking, you've got people in your network, but you've also got people related to you. Reach out to them in that way. Make sure that you're trying to play tag and hinting at a referral. Case prep, do it before. Be ready before you apply. Daily prep, which is your math and exhibits, your background knowledge, and industry knowledge. And then your case prep, realizing that we can't be doing this generic stuff. If you are ready from this session, you should be ahead of the game in terms of frameworking. Don't be memorizing. Learn how they all interact with each other and be dynamic with them. Behavioral, we didn't quite get to, but it's a similar line of thinking. With coaching, everything's tailored. So if you do want to kind of, dive deeper in this was very much skimming the surface just because of time constraints. There's way more to this. My journey for all of you guys is totally tailored. It depends on where you're starting, who you are, your strengths and weaknesses. We build out your coaching plan for you in a completely tailored and customized way. So feel free to reach out for that. And if you have any questions, I've got a minute or two. If you guys want to ask anything to close out, I think we can run over.
Something?
Yeah, please.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
Pleasure. I'm doing well.
Hi, this is Nishi speaking, and I just want to say thank you so much. This was honestly such a comprehensive overview I've seen thus far from Leland, so it was very helpful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I was wondering, and I just put it in the chat, but I was wondering for people that may not, are interviewers expecting you to know about different industries, such as like the airplane, the food industry, the industrial chemical industry, etc., or are you expected to know like general information and kind of using the framework that you mentioned and your kind of own knowledge and strategy to answer those case studies if it's something that you don't really have a lot of niche knowledge on?
Yeah, the second one. So, my first project was a liquefied natural gas plant, and we were trying to optimize the internal IT processes between upstream, midstream, and downstream.
Okay.
I had no idea what that meant. Right? Within a week, you figure it out. Right? So if that's what they always think about, what do they expect in the real world? Well, they expect consultants in the real world to not really know, but use their thinking and brain power and all of that to figure it out. Same thing in a case. They're not hiring you to be an expert. They're hiring you to be able to hear something like, kind of like I said earlier, drone manufacturing in Ukraine, right? Okay, well, what matters? There's a hardware component. There's a software component. Okay, there's probably economies of scale. These are probably small modular things that can be mass produced. So you don't have to have read the industry to be able to do exactly what you said, Nishi, right? Think about what you've read elsewhere. Think about industries that are similar to maybe understand what the cost structure would probably look like and visualize it. And that's all they expect you to do, to be able to learn, to be able to adjust and adapt. That's what they're testing for.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ian.
My pleasure. It's not the knowledge that you have, it's the ability to acquire knowledge that they're testing. It's a great question.
Thank you so much. Have a good.
My pleasure. Tino Tenda, maybe the last question. If someone has a last one, they can type it in. And again, Nishi, thank you. That was a really good question. Tino Tenda asked if you bomb the interview and they tell you there's a year cooling period, is that realistic or are they letting you down gently? No, there's a year cooling period. So if you fail in the with the interview in the first year, 1 year later, you can reapply. Make sure you network again. Make sure your resume has changed a bit. You've advanced, right? Whatever you can do. And then obviously figure out why you bombed and fix it, right? Think about what the weaknesses were and how to adjust, right? So change what you're doing, but you can apply again. Yeah. And apply to lots, right? Apply to 40 firms, right? Don't worry about the one place that said no. If you guys counted, I applied to 40. I interviewed at 8. So 32 told me no, right? So, I mean, you're going to get told no more than yes, but you only need one yes, right? So that's what we're shooting for. All right. Thank you, everyone. Absolute pleasure. Just as you embark on the journey, think about if you're doing things effectively. Think about why you're doing things a certain way. Okay. Work hard, but also work smart. Okay. Absolute pleasure. Good luck to everyone.